Ancient paradox. A dilemma first pondered at least 2,000 years ago in ancient Greece. A question that goes to the ultimate nature of existence. This unsolvable paradox stands in for any sort of problem with an indeterminate cause and effect. But what if the original paradox did have a solution? What if this simple question was itself a gift from the ancients intended to last the ages and help humanity to understand our fundamental reality? So then, which came first, the chicken or the egg? First cause. A favored solution to the paradox has been a first cause, or chicken prime, the original chicken. This thinking goes that a supreme being made the first chickens who then laid the first eggs. For most Christians, it remains an article of faith that God's will is the first cause of all that exists. The person who conceives of God in this way is apt to look upon the observable world as something that could not exist by itself. The chicken came first was the consensus answer to the paradox for almost 2,000 years. Evolution. In 1859, Charles Darwin published On the Origin of Species and laid the foundation for modern evolutionary biology. We would soon learn that domestic chickens descended from the red jungle fowl 8,000 years ago. The red jungle fowl had evolved from basal phasianity, who was not a chicken, 30 million years ago. Scientists can now track chickens back from before they were even birds. For many, the paradox ends here: egg came first. But this paradox isn't really about chickens, it's about causes, so let's keep going back. After all, something caused all these eggs. Origins. Darwin said, therefore, I should infer from analogy that probably all the organic beings which have ever lived on this earth have descended from some one primordial form, into which life was first breathed. This primordial form is now known as Luca, or the last universal common ancestor. So, what was Luca? What caused Luca? Abiogenesis. The earliest known life on Earth existed more than 3.5 billion years ago, during the Eoarchean era, when sufficient crust had solidified following the molten Hadean Eon. The earliest physical evidence so far found consists of microfossils in banded iron formation rocks at least 3.77 and possibly 4.28 billion years ago. This finding suggests life developed very soon after oceans formed. The structure of the microbes was similar to bacteria found near hydrothermal vents in the modern era, supporting the view that abiogenesis began near hydrothermal vents. Hadean. It was the Hadean atmosphere, which has been characterized as a gigantic, productive outdoor chemical laboratory which created the conditions necessary for the oceans to form 4.3 billion years ago and allowed for abiogenesis to occur. But what caused the Hadean atmosphere and Earth itself to form? Cosmic dawn. Approximately 4.6 billion years ago, our solar system was just a cloud of dust and gas known as a solar nebula. Gravity collapsed the material in on itself as it began to spin, condensing the matter and forming the sun in the center of the nebula. With the sun beginning to form, the remaining material started to clump up. Small particles drew together, bound by the force of gravity, into larger particles. The solar wind, a constant stream of charged particles that emanate from the sun's upper atmosphere, swept away lighter elements, such as hydrogen and helium. This left behind heavy, rocky materials that formed smaller terrestrial worlds like Earth. And farther away from the sun, the solar wind had less of an impact on lighter elements, which allowed these elements to coalesce into gas giants. This process created our solar system's asteroids, comets, planets, and moons. So, what created our solar nebula? Big Bang. The universe began, scientists believe, with every speck of its energy jammed into a very tiny point. This extremely dense point exploded with unimaginable force, creating matter and propelling it outward to make the billions of galaxies of our vast universe. Astrophysicists dubbed this titanic explosion the Big Bang. Earlier than 10 raised to the power of -36 seconds, however, we simply don't understand the nature of the universe. The Big Bang Theory is fantastic at describing everything after that, but before it scientists are a bit lost. Current scientific knowledge has no definitive answer as to what caused the Big Bang. In fact, at small enough scales, they don't even know if the word first even makes sense. Is the universe and everything in it just a cascading sequence of effects from this first cause of unidentified origin? That does not resolve the chicken and egg, as cause and effect, dilemma. Post-causal physics. Physicists have long sensed that the usual picture of events unfolding as a sequence of causes and effects doesn't capture the fundamental nature of things. They say this causal perspective probably has to go if we're ever to figure out the quantum origin of gravity, space, and time. Until recently, there weren't many ideas about how post-causal physics might work. Many people think that causality is so basic in our understanding of the world that if we weaken this notion, we would not be able to make coherent, meaningful theories. Superposition. A possible theory follows from the quantum phenomenon known as superposition, where particles maintain all possible realities simultaneously until the moment they're measured. In labs, physicists observe indefinite causal order by putting a particle of light, called a photon, in a superposition of two states. They then subject one branch of the superposition to process A followed by process B, and subject the other branch to be followed by A. In this procedure, known as the quantum switch, A's outcome influences what happens in B, and vice versa, the photon experiences both causal orders simultaneously. If an object is in all possible states at once with no determined state until measured, does anything truly come first? Or is the firstness only due to the measuring, not in the reality? The eternal egg. Back in ancient Greece, the Neoplatonists had also determined the solution to the paradox to be both. For, said they, the chicken and the egg are one, the chicken is in the egg and the egg is in the chicken from all eternity. They contended that the interdependent existence of the chicken and the egg at any time was proof that both were eternal. Without one, the other cannot exist. They are two states of a single entity. There is no time you can visit that has eggs without chickens or chickens without eggs. They only exist in their given state as measured in the moment in which they exist, in the eternal now. The observed is the observer. Does the observation of the evolutionary state of a subject create the reality in which the subject exists? Is the reality itself within the observer? It's true that matter can take on two states of reality at the same time. Is observation of a subject the cause of the subject and measurement the effect? If we acknowledge that cause and effect are one, only separate through observation and measurement, and acknowledge that subjects share their causes and effects with other entities and other things, then everything must be intrinsically connected in a shared, unified reality. Every thread of being is leading from causes to effects. Monism. Monism is a philosophical concept that attributes oneness or singleness to existence. This is what the Neoplatonists of ancient Greece believed. Several world religions and philosophies espouse this concept of oneness. While monism takes different forms, all forms of monism emphasize the unity in all things. Harmony. From this unity, we can start to appreciate the true nature of being. That the chicken is an expression of the chickenness of being and egg the expression of eggness of being. We can begin to take conception of self as a composite expression of everything that we experience as cause, and everything we experience as effect. Once we recognize our intrinsic connection and inseparability with the world, we can begin to overcome fear of it. There is no other. Once the world ceases to be alien to us, we can begin to find peace. Gift. This gift of the ancients is unlocked by solving the paradox. By recognizing the two is really one. The ancients could not prove everything is connected, we are all one with the divine, any more simply than to encourage us to answer that fundamental question. Which came first, the chicken or the egg?